Just jumping in here quickly to let you guys know that I have recently created a Facebook group for listeners of the Live, Train, Perform podcast. So this private forum is the place to connect with other podcast listeners and guests, as well as to interact with myself and other coaches who have provided content for the Coach's Corner episodes. So in this forum, you can ask questions, which I can then answer in the group, or I can use them for episodes for my Q&A sessions, post relevant articles, you can share memes. The goal is to create a network of like-minded people so that everyone can interact with each other. You guys, the listeners, the audience members, can interact with a network of professionals in the fitness industry that have provided good quality content for the podcast. To gain access to this private group, all you need to do is leave me a rating and review. What this does is allows me to bump up the ratings, draw bigger names, bigger guests to the podcast for your listening pleasure. Once you've left a rating and review, take a screenshot of that, send that through to my Instagram at coach_Kobes, Kobes. Once you've done that, go onto Facebook, type in Live, Train, Perform. That group will come up, request access, answer the 3 questions, and I will grant you access. I am in the process of building out my online business. One of the income streams is going to be from the Facebook forum. So I'm going to be allowing 50 people into that forum for free. After that, it will be paid access only. So get in early, be one of the OGs. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to this episode of the Live, Train, Perform podcast. I'm your host, Sean Kober, and joining me today is Leroy Faure, who is a former soldier turned entrepreneur. He is the owner of Fit Dad Lifestyle and Fit Dad Fuel. Leroy, welcome to the episode, mate.
Thanks, Sean. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here, brother. You are also a Swiss 8 ambassador, as am I. And for people tuning in who may not have listened to the podcast before or who have only recently come on board, Swiss 8 is a proactive mental health model designed to allow people to structure in and schedule 8 pillars of health and wellness. Now, those pillars of health and wellness are sleep, nutrition, time management, discipline, fitness, personal growth, mindfulness, and minimalism. Leroy, for you, mate, do any of those pillars stand out for you in your life right now?
Yeah, mate, definitely. I think time management is one of the biggest things, and it's something that I try and preach quite a bit to not only my community but also take on board myself. Is trying to get the most out of every day and not use, I guess, being a father or being with the demands of the business and everything that we're trying to do there, take away from any other aspects of, one, living the life, but two, trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle and keeping active every day and ultimately being that example that we want to set for the kids. And probably one of the things that, to go with the time, which also ties into, I guess, the fitness and the personal growth and everything else, it sort of all interlocks into each other, is, I get up at 4:00 every day. Now, I run my own business. I do not need to get up at that time. I could get up at 8, so, it doesn't matter. But by me getting up at that hour, I get to, one, work on the business side of things and deal with people from different time zones. But then I get to go to the gym. I get to have, that time to myself, listen to an audiobook, podcast, or something like that. And then get home. I can walk the dog and I can get, those first few major goals sort of ticked off before the family even wakes up. And then I don't have to, take away from the time that I want to spend with them and, getting breakfast ready and, the start of their day where we might go for a bike ride. And, I'm not sort of then going to go do my own stuff and taking away from, that time. So I think it's just about working out what works for you. And yeah, you might have to sacrifice staying up watching that extra movie at night, or sacrifice, flicking on the socials till 11 p.m. and get to bed a little bit earlier. But it sort of ticks my goals. It ticks the family's goals. And, they're probably the principles that I would, say are the most important to what we go through.
I love that, man. That's very well said. We'll come back to that in a moment, but where did you learn how to build that discipline and create that time management protocol that would allow you to focus on yourself for the first couple of hours of the day, fill up your cup so then you could pour from that cup towards your family?
Yeah, mate, I think obviously, and we've all been through the military system. I think the first part of the discipline obviously derives from there, because I joined when I was 19 or 20. So, before that it was footy, school, partying, that was sort of about it. So I think the discipline,
the usual
probably
route.
First. Yeah, mate, that's right. So it's, I think that's where it ultimately started from. But then once I left the military, I started my own group fitness business, Bootcamp Noosa, before I sold that a couple of years ago. And I ran that for about 6 or 7 years because I had no other qualifications, behind me. It was just a PT certificate at the time. And I think that sort of, I had to self-teach myself, very, very quickly. One, the early mornings, because obviously in the PT game, it's early mornings, late afternoons. And on top of that, just sort of scheduling, the rest of the day. And then fast forward to having kids and realizing that, hey, I can actually, being a PT, I can spend from 9 or 10 till 3 or 4 every day with my son. So if I can, get everything done, the training sessions, my own training and everything before that 9 o'clock, then I've got this big chunk of the day in the middle that I can, be dad and, help out the wife or do, whatever. And then the afternoon, I don't have to then take away and do my own training session. I can just do what is required and come back and help out with nighttime routine. So I think it sort of naturally progressed, but I think, being in the military and then sort of just forcing those habits were probably how it started and how it, is built into what it is now.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to your time in the military. How long were you in for and what did you do? You're an infantry soldier at 2 RAR, is that right?
Yeah, mate. So 6 years or just under 6 years. So it was 4 up in Townsville at 2 RAR and then it was 8-9 for the last couple. So I decided to go to 8-9 because they were raising the battalion at the time. We just got back from Timor. And I always wanted to get back down towards the sunny coast. And I thought, getting to Brisbane was the next best thing. New battalion, there was a lot of potential there to have that fast sort of growth, for the support courses or, subject courses. Not that I did any subject, courses, but I just seen it as a new routine and, a way for me to probably, much like you guys in Darwin, get out of that garrison city. That was the one thing that never really sat well with me. Like you'd go out in town and you'd obviously be known because you're with 10 other guys or, whatever, but you were labelled an AJ or labelled
AJs
military.
are in town.
Exactly, good, bad or otherwise before you even started. And I think coming down to Brisbane gave me that anonymity of just being able to be, go to work from 7 or 4 and then literally knock off and become, a everyday person. We actually lived in Caloundra when I moved to Brisbane.
Leroy.
Exactly. And so
not your rank, not private or Lance Corporal, whatever.
That's right. And mate, we lived in Brizzy, so we moved to the sunny coast and we were just travelling down Brizzy every day for work. You'd come home, you go for a surf or take the dog to the beach and you're just a normal person because you always used to get early knocks and, you're home by 2 or 3 in the afternoon back to the sunny coast. And mate, it was a great lifestyle. It really was.
So you got out in what year?
2011, March 2011.
Yeah, I got out in March 2012, so we've been out for roughly the same time. A decade, man, that's gone fast, huh?
I know. I was only thinking that, it was 10 years for me. This March just gone. I only kicked in a couple of months ago. I was going through, because we just bought a new house, and I was unpacking some old boxes with all military stuff. I'm like, seeing the discharge paper, I'm like, holy shit, that's been 10 years already. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, man. But dude, I did a post on social media a couple of days ago. We're recording this on 29th of September. This will probably go live maybe first or second week of November, just because I've got a project coming up after this where I'm going to be, I'm not going to have any time to record podcasts. So I'm backloading them right now. But I did a post a couple of days ago on, being a decade since this time 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I was in the UAE about to fly into Afghanistan, just being bombed up, briefed up. And I was just about to fly into Afghanistan, man. And I was thinking back to that journey from then to now and all of those lessons that I learned through that deployment in particular. I deployed 3 times. I went to Iraq, East Timor, Afghanistan. So I hit the trifecta in 6 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like really grateful for that. But, you know, I've taken those principles that I learned from my time in the military and then applied them to my life, and like they've served me very, very well. And a lot of people, when they do get out of the army, they lose their purpose, they lose their direction, they lose their self-identity. And, you know, those lessons, those SOPs that they learnt, those, you know, habits that they'd formed, they kind of just fall away because you end up rebelling. You're like, right, I've been so regimented for the last 6 years. You get out and you're like, fuck it, I'm not getting out of bed. I'm not going to shave. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, man. And, you know, that's where people lose their way. But it took me about 6 to 9 months-ish, kind of just floating once I got out, before I was like, you know what, like when I was at my best, I was doing this and I was doing that and I was doing that. And I was like, why don't I just start doing that stuff again? Once I started doing that stuff and just repurposing those SOPs that I'd been taught and taking those principles from my military career and applying them to my everyday life, man, like things started getting better. And like the more I do that stuff and the more I'm in control of my day, looking after those principles I spoke about, you know, the better I'm performing. Have you noticed anything like that for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've sort of been lucky and probably very similar to you to get straight into that health and fitness sort of space straight after. I've seen a lot of friends who were in the military at the same time, and, you know, they've gone to get corporate jobs or mines or become tradesmen. And, you know, it isn't as easy, you know, to get back into those habits of, you know, training and looking after yourself, but then still feeling relevant. And yeah, I think, you know, the way, like, because I got like bad knees, bad back, and, you know, shoulders and stuff like that. You know, some related to military, some, you know, post service as well. But I find with myself, both mentally and physically, you know, if I train every day, and it could be just some pull ups out the back here, or it could be, you know, just something with the kids, or, you know, it might be a gym session or a light run or a bike ride, that it just gives me that tick in the box that I can sort of, you know, continue on. And I feel like that first goal, that first task, that first, you know, part of the day is done. I can't really train in the PM. Not that, you know, I physically can, but I just don't feel like I can get in the zone. And, you know, I just like doing it either, you know, before the sun comes up, or now that the sun is up a lot earlier up here in Queensland, it sort of allows me to get outside and, you know, just sort of connect. And as I mentioned at the start, just sort of have that time to me where I know the phone's not buzzing. You know, I haven't got kids demanding my time. You know, I can get out of the house and I'm not taking away from any of that. And I think that by looking after myself, you know, one, the body stays healthier and, you know, the fitness obviously improves, but two, it just helps me stay focused. And, you know, I don't then have to try and fit in something at the end of the day when the kids might have sport or a meeting gets sprung upon you, you know, randomly, or, you know, traffic stops you getting to the gym on time, or, you know, whatever the case is. So I figure, you know, by doing everything at the start of the day, then no matter what happens for the rest of the day, you know, you can't take away from what I've already achieved. So.
Yeah, mate, 100% agree, man. Like, I love to get my training in first thing in the morning. You know, obviously when you're in the army, that was the first thing you did.
Exactly.
You rock up, you go on parade, get your name called, sweet, straight into PT. Then you have brekkie, down the hangars, draw weapons, go through skills and drills, whatever. Then I would go to the gym after working all day, and then I'd go to rugby training, man. I was like training 2-3 times a day when I was in the army. But now that I run my own business, I do work for Tiger Muay Thai. I'm the head strength and conditioning coach there in Thailand, but, you know, that's my main job. But then I also have my own business on the side. And I find that, you know, if I'm not doing my training first thing in the morning, I've got so many other things going on that if I don't get it done, then my attention is drawn in so many different areas throughout the day because, you know, as you said, things come up. You're emailing people, you've got to reply to things, you've got business opportunities, you've got, you know, so many other things that pop up throughout the day, and you're constantly putting out fires. So, you know, I like to get in early, get that stuff done, get the things done that are important to me first thing in the morning. Again, that ties back into that time management stuff. And I think a big part of that time management stuff is understanding what you value and what your priorities are. For me, getting that training in is, you know, it used to be all about performance. And now it's still kind of is somewhat about performance, because I know that when I do get that training in, I do get that mental cognitive boost. I do feel good. I get those, feel good endorphins flowing, get the blood flowing, get the heart rate up. I feel good after my training sessions. I feel sharp. So then that carries over and complements the rest of my day, so understanding what you value, understanding what your priorities are is very important for being able to schedule your day. And as you said, that first 2 hours of your day, that's when you're getting the most important stuff done. You've got no distractions, no one else is up, you've got nothing, pulling your focus in different directions, so you can really hone in on the things that you need to do. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Mate, not really. I forgot that you worked at the Tiger Muay Thai because we used to run fitness like holidays around the world. We used to take groups over to Bali and Thailand and Everest Base Camp. And we used to train out of Action Point in Railway Beach as well. And I remember going to Tiger Muay Thai a few times just to, show clients there and, check it all out. So it was, it just sprung my memory when you said that, we used to do that a few years ago. So
nice, mate. Well, when borders open up again, you've got a contact at Tiger now. So
yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely go back there. So
yeah, cool, man. All right. So you discharged from the Army 2011. What did you have any issues when you went through that discharge process? Like, did you kind of fall off the wagon a little bit, lose your self-identity, your purpose, your direction? And if so, what did you do to kind of get out of that hole, get yourself moving in the right direction?
Mate, so I stuffed my back in my final year in the Army. So I've got a couple of bulge discs in my back and slip vertebrae as well. So that was sort of the reason I ended up leaving. And mate, I was just lucky enough that when I was in there, I studied to be a personal trainer on the side, just in the spare time. I actually started it online whilst we were over in Timor because there was just a lot of downtime at that time. And then I finished it at Fit Nation in Brisbane once I got transferred down there. So, mate, I was sort of lucky that I had that behind me. I had no skill or no business knowledge or no, straight from school, basically straight to the Army. So, mate, of course, I started a boot camp company because leaving the military, that seems to be what you do at that time. So I was lucky enough to, once I discharged, move up to Noosa. And it was a tough first year because, I was lucky that my wife grew up here in Noosa. So we had 10 of her friends just sort of come and they were paying like $5 a session, like very basic to get started. But then, it was sort of the start of the social media back then in 2011 as well. So it wasn't now where you post something and 2% of your following base is actually seeing it. Back then it was you post something and everyone's seeing everything. So we could very quickly capitalize, and we built that up to 120 members over the next year, and then it was fine. We were doing 10 hours a week, and it was like a dream. You're doing 10 group sessions a week and earning all this money and living the dream, like living the lifestyle. Yeah, you could surf, you could chill out. You'll finish by 7:30 in the morning, not going back till 5 in the afternoon. And yeah, it was very lucky, but it was also very tough in those first 6 months. A lot of learning curves, a lot of mistakes made because the military, especially coming from an infantry background, it doesn't set you up for running your own business or understanding tax or understanding payments or websites or social media. And so mate, I've never done any formal courses or formal qualifications apart from that PT certificate, and basically just self-taught myself through YouTube. I even to this day I still make all our own websites. We do all our marketing, our own podcasts, videos, all that kind of stuff. And it's just trial and error through, I guess, the University of YouTube, I like to call it. And, there's just that much information on there about everything that you want to do that I don't think people need to go study and do, 2, 3, 4 years of university, unless they need to with like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. But yeah, mate, to get to where we are today and, what we're doing at the moment from there 10 years ago is pretty good.
Talk to me about that journey, mate, because you obviously started those boot camps straight out of the military, easy transition, living a good lifestyle. You've since been scaling your business. I'm assuming in that time you've had a couple of kids as well, and that's how the Fit Dad lifestyle kicked off. Talk me through that process and how having children then changed your thoughts around training, time management, etc.
Yeah, so, mate, we started, as I mentioned, Bootcamp Noosa back in 2011. It was just group fitness outdoors at the time. We then got a warehouse and probably doing a very early model, like mix between F45, CrossFit, just indoor circuits, but in like just a warehouse with like torsion bars and kettlebells and, big truck tires and all that good stuff. And then we obviously started the fitness holidays about 2013 or 2014. We're taking groups over to Everest Base Camp and then Bali and then Thailand, which was sort of, 4 or 5 trips a year until about 2018 was our last trip. Then I think just naturally, because our children, we had our firstborn Harry in 2013 and we got 2 more kids now. So Tanner, he's nearly 5, and then Mia, she's 5 months old. And the kids were always involved in everything that we did. So my wife, she'd come down and would run mums and bubs classes for her and her friends that had babies around the same time. And, the nighttime sessions outside of those timings, we made like a little crèche, or we had the kids, just something random set up in the corner for them. And if we did take groups to Thailand or Bali, they were on the plane, they were coming over there as well. And, just being involved and being around. And, we used to just randomly pick up, like just different villas or different stuff we're doing and different pictures of us training with the kids or us doing videos at the villas or something like that. And it was actually, I went over to Kabul and did a bit of private security at the embassy a couple of years back. And I was, same thing, sort of a lot of time on your hands. And, I developed an ebook. Like I had all these content, all these pictures, and I spent 3 months whilst we were over there just putting this ebook together, thinking it was going to be the next, Kayla Itzline sort of bikini body guide sort of thing for dads, and we're going to sell millions of copies in the first month. And anyways, spent 3 months, had all these, got professional photos done, like professional designers, all this information. And I think I sold 1 copy in the first 2 weeks after that. It just was the most depleting thing ever. Like, I thought it was a home run. And anyway, that probably put Fit Dad on the shelf for about another 3 to 6 months, because it actually beat me down that much, thinking that I had this amazing product. So anyway, that got put to the side. And then about 3 to 6 months later, went back to Bali during one of the breaks from over there. And we just started posting workout videos with me and my wife. And, one of the guys said, do you mind sharing, different workouts I can do with my kid? And I said, I'll make a Facebook group, and just added a few dads I knew in there and a few old clients that were fathers as well. And just started posting random stuff in there. And it just naturally, they kept adding their friends, and then, it just kept growing and growing. I think today we've got just over 5,000 dads awesome, in that private group now, which is good. And the ebook sells 5 to 10 copies a day. So that just is whatever. It just keeps going out the door. And we've got about 3,000 clients with our supplements now. And, like where things were 2.5 years ago to where they are today is completely different in every which way. Like I never thought it was going to be a business model. I never envisioned doing supplements. It was always just a group to share, workout tips and maybe do a bit of online coaching in between. But every couple of months, it just seems like there's a new opportunity or something else that we can evolve into and, utilize what we've already built in the community that we've already got to, just take it with both hands. And I don't think I'm afraid anymore to take that risk or, failure. I actually, like if I had that ebook thing happen to me now, I think I'd love it and it'd give me 10 times more energy to go after it because, I'm not relying on it as much as probably what I thought I was back then. So mate, it's been a bit of a journey this last 10 years, but I think every one of those failures, every one of those, starting the business and learning social media on YouTube and, I guess building a community in person and both online and then, traveling the world and seeing how all that connected and then, building the ebooks and building all this different stuff has probably led to where we are right now. And it's probably a lot of those, I guess, wins and also a lot of the mistakes that has allowed us to, probably get to a level now where we're now starting to expand our team and expand, into the retail and distribution and expand overseas. And, I think, mate, it's exciting journey, and it still honestly feels like we're only beginning. I still get excited by, some of these new things, because we're going into uncharted territories with a lot of the things that we're going to. It's going back to that, day one of that learning curve, and, making mistakes again, and then figuring it out, but being able to connect with the right people and, make it happen.
Yeah, that's a great point, mate. I was going to ask you how you felt like when you put all that time, energy, and effort into creating that ebook. You knew you had a good product, but maybe it wasn't marketed right. Maybe, for whatever reason, it flopped. Like, how did that make you feel, knowing that you'd spent so much time, energy, and effort on doing that, and probably money as well, creating that with the professional photos and all the other things that go hand in hand with that, and then it was a failure? Like, obviously you shelved it for a while. How did that make you feel?
Mate, at the time it was, painful. It honestly was very, I'd sort of had, up until that stage, everything we were touching sort of, turned to gold, sort of thing. There was wins after wins, and, to then launch something thinking that, I put it on Amazon, I put it on Google, I'm going to put it in iTunes bookstore, and, put it for $10, I get 1,000 fathers buying a month, which is nothing, and just having all these plans and thinking that it was just going to, go crazy. It really hurt, because I put probably 3 months into it, a lot of time, energy, and money. And, it was one of those things that I ended up actually taking myself back to, so about 3 months after that failed, I think I had a month off or 2 months off, and I took myself over to Action Point actually by myself for 5 days. And I just wanted to train, get my head right, and figure out what my next move was, because I didn't want to work overseas anymore. It was taking too much time away from the kids, and I knew that I wanted to be in the space. I knew that I wanted to, be doing something online with the father, and I think that's where the group might have started, and that's where I come up with the name, the Fit Dad Lifestyle. And then I was showing Shaf, the owner of Action Point, the plan. He goes, "This is really good. You just need to, jig it and get actually someone who actually specializes in, publications and books to give it a bit of a touch up." And that ebook we still use today. Obviously, it's had a lot more information added to it, but the pictures are still the same. A lot of the information about goal setting, or reverse engineering, or strategy, and meal plans and all that sort of stuff that's in there is exactly the same as what it was when I first launched and failed. It hasn't changed because it hasn't needed to. We did like that big of a job when we first did it, and just by changing the cover and changing a few things around, it's really allowed us to now reap the rewards of pushing that out there.
Absolutely, mate. That is an investment. There's so many things that you just said there that reminds me of my own journey. We've got a very similar journey, by the way. Like, I got out of the army and went straight into PT, started my own business, etc., etc. But I'm in the process of building out my own business now. So 2017, I broke up with my now ex-girlfriend of 5 years, came over to Thailand, and took up an intern contract at Tiger Muay Thai for 2 months. Didn't know what was going to happen, man. I had a 2-month contract. Didn't know if I was going to get a job there. Didn't know if I wouldn't be offered a job. Had all these options of, well, I'll apply for a job at Tiger. I'll apply for a job at Unit 27, at Titan Fitness. I want to live in Thailand. I want to work there. If that doesn't happen, then, I'll take my backpack and I'll go traveling the world, or I'll go and live in New Zealand, whatever. Like, I had so many options. But when I first went to when I first went to Thailand, I had my online coaching business, which I'd been running for probably about 2 years, and I'd been building that up progressively over that time. It was never like a full-time thing. It was always a bit of a side hustle. But once I went to Thailand, I was like, right, I'm going to build up my online business. I'm going to really push that. And if I can live in Thailand and make enough money via my online coaching and not have to dip into my savings, make enough money to live, then I'm good, man. I'm happy. I can live a really good lifestyle. Then I got offered a full-time job at Tiger a month later. And then I became the head coach at Tiger like 5 months later. So that then became my number one priority. And, that plan of building the online business never really took off. I've always got my online business going. I've always got somewhere between 6 to 10 clients. I never advertise it. It's never something that I push. It's always just something on the side to help some people. But now's the time where I'm starting to build that out. And part of that process is, creating content for the podcast. I think by the time this comes out, this will be about 140 episodes that I've got for the podcast, man. And, I haven't been paid a cent for the podcast. It's actually cost me a lot of money, a lot of time, energy, effort. As you know, you've got your own podcast, which we'll talk about in a moment. But for me, that's an investment, right? So I'm putting together all of this content so that, because people message me all the time on Instagram, or people come up to me after a training session at Tiger and be like, hey, coach, I want to know about this and that and da-da-da-da. And they're asking these black and white questions, expecting black and white answers. I'm like, it depends. Yeah. I don't know anything about you. So, I was like, maybe I'll start a podcast and I can start putting together this content. So when someone asks me a question, I can just send them a link. Yeah. So 140 episodes by the time this one comes out. I've actually started transcribing a lot of the episodes, which I'm then going to co-locate all the information that's relevant to specific topics, put them together into ebooks. And then I'm, starting to film training programs and things like that. I don't even have a website, man. So I'm creating a really good product, then going to put it on a website and have something to sell. And kind of sounds similar to what you went through a couple of years ago. But I think that's important to invest that time, energy, and effort into creating a product, because now you had that product, and then once you start building some momentum, once you start getting your name out there, once people start coming to you looking for good quality content, you already have it built, rather than going the other way where people try and build a website and then add things. They try and build a name, they try and build a reputation for themselves, they want to become an influencer, and all they have is these cookie cutter bullshit programs.
Yeah. Mate, you've hit the nail on the head, and that's one thing that people, don't realize about FitDad as well. And much the same of exactly what you're saying. Like, I had the podcast, the group, the Facebook page, Instagram page, for 18 months before I sold or made $1 out of FitDad Lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I gave away all my content, everything I knew. I helped people with, like I said, programs and nutritional plans, and even just picking up the phone if someone was on the edge, or because they were going through something with their wife. And I did that for 18 months before I even launched the supplements. And the supplements were a byproduct because I kept getting sick of people asking, what supplements do you use and what do you recommend? And then someone randomly wrote in the group one day, well, you should just bring out your own and then you don't need to do it. And my business partner was actually in the group. Well, that's it. And yeah, I didn't realize, but at the time, business partner and one of his friends was in the group, and he owns one of Australia's largest manufacturers, but he was in there as a dad, wanting advice as dad and for fitness. And he reached out and said, hey, mate, can we come up and see you? And that's where the supplements come from. It was never a vision or never a thought. And the whole thing I sort of did was, I think the Gary V sort of jab, right hook, or that book that he brought out, which basically means give, and then ask. And I think that's the way that we sort of built the Fit Dad lifestyle. And we had about 2,000 dads in the group before we offered one online training program, one workout on our training app, and then obviously the merch and the stuff on top of that. But, they see the glitz and glamour of where it is now, but don't realize that you didn't get paid 1 cent for 18 months and had to self-fund it through working overseas and working, random jobs here and opening up, doing PT on the side, and exactly the same as what you're saying. And, it is funny, mate, that journey and that similarities between us of, over the last 10 years is crazy.
Yeah, man. Let's discuss the Fit Dad lifestyle. So obviously you became a father. You realize that, you need to make some adjustments to your daily routine, your schedule, your priorities, so that you could be a good father, could be a good partner, and contribute to your family. Talk to me about that transition from kind of having a lot of time for yourself, spending time with your wife, but then having children, and then having to change those priorities. And then how that transitioned and became the Fit Dad lifestyle, and why you started putting out this content for other guys to be able to take this content on board and apply to their own lives.
Yeah, so mate, back in 2013, both I had the boot camp business. My wife was working full time as well, and obviously she fell pregnant and then gave birth to our first son. And I never wanted her to work. I wanted her to work within the business and stuff like that. So, because I really wanted the kids to, not be at daycare after 6 months maternity leave ends and her back at work. And so we were in a position where we were pretty lucky. The business was doing all right, and we could, support both of us, or her just helping out with the business and doing that. So, I was probably very lucky in that respect that she'd also been very close to her sister at the time, who had a kid who was 2 or 3. So she had been involved with her sister quite a bit and looked after, the kid from, when it was a baby. And so she already had those sort of mothering instincts. Whereas when fatherhood come around for me, it was like a smack in the face. There's no rule book, there's no blueprint, there's no nothing. And it really is, even now with the third one, about 6 months ago, it's still a totally different, culture shock. And it's even though you've got a bit of an understanding, being a first girl as well, there's all these different, other things that sort of get thrown into the mix. So going back to like you mentioned about time management, nothing really changed too much. I still worked in the morning, still worked in the afternoon, but instead of my wife being at work during the day, I actually got to just hang out with them. And, if she needed a rest, or, we took Harry down to the beach, or we took him to the park, once he got to a certain age, and, or did stuff together, went out for lunch and stuff. So it actually probably just built our unity and our relationship stronger, because we got to spend a lot more time together. So, mate, it was probably, looking back now, it's probably one of the best things that, having kids, because it was always just me during the day, because I'd have the, start and finish of the day, and then she'd be working through the middle. So it was sort of like you're always by yourself, either, trying to fill in time or doing whatever. And it was probably, one of the best things to happen. And then naturally number 2 and 3 come, and that's sort of how it then evolved into, the Fit Dad, and being an online based business. I can be at home at 1 o'clock and do a podcast, or I can, like the other day, like I was at Auskick for my son for a 2-day holiday camp. So I just sat down there and got to watch him, take a couple of phone calls here and there. But you sort of not needed to be somewhere from 7 till 5, or, whatever the time is. You can sort of pick and choose. Like I can go back to the warehouse and do another 5 hours after this, or I can go outside and play basketball. It's sort of that freedom now to, pick and choose what you do and not have anyone else to answer to, I think is one of the beauties of what we've developed. And we have developed it with that whole lifestyle approach to it, because, we do value our family time. But at the same time, if I do need to put in 10 hours tomorrow, then that's what's required. I'll do it. But if I've got nothing on tomorrow and we want to go to the beach or go do something as a family for the day, then we can also do that as well. So, if that means on a Sunday that we all as a family have to go to the warehouse and pack boxes because we had a massive day, then so be it. But if it means on a Monday we can take the car at the beach and hang out together and go surfing, then we'll also do that as well. So it's sort of, we don't have a 9 till 5, sort of, it is 24/7 to a degree, but also completely in our control of how that looks. And, if we don't need to be working hard, then we won't. And, we can also double down and get stuff done if we need to.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be times when you're putting your head down, you're working your ass off so that you can give yourself that freedom, that time to, go to the beach for the day or whatever.
Yep, definitely.
Being proactive rather than reactive. Let's talk about your primary message for the dads out there. That, what's the main point that you want to get across to your community in the Fit Dad lifestyle?
Yeah, so the main thing that we try and teach people is that they do have enough time, and to try and increase their own confidence levels in themselves. Like the biggest thing that, when we ask questions or, talk to people and, I don't have enough time to do, training every day, or I don't have enough time to meal prep, or I don't have enough time to spend, time with my kids. And it's like, well, there's 168 hours in a week, open up your screen time app, and we get them to do it in front of our face or in, a video Zoom. And you're like, okay, so that 6 hours on Facebook, 4 hours Instagram, 3 hours YouTube, Netflix, the list goes on. It's like the time that you just told me you don't have is right there in front of you. It's that your priorities aren't matching what your goals are. And because you aren't hitting those goals, it's also, taking down your confidence levels. And because you don't have confidence levels, it's just the spiraling out of control. So, we're really trying to, get dads to not only believe in themselves, but realize that they do have the time to do stuff if they plan it properly and if they, get that time management, back in line, and, that the kids are imitating everything that we do, so the kids more often than not following in what we are actually doing than what we're actually saying. Like even with our kids, like obviously it's a bit different because they're part of videos. They see dad working out. They, are there, all the time. So if I'm out doing a workout out the backyard or playing basketball, or just something random by myself, I can guarantee that the kids will be down there within, a couple of minutes. Whereas, if I'm sitting on my phone or laying on the bed or watching a movie, then I can't expect my kids to be outside playing basketball. They're probably going to be doing exactly the same thing on iPads or, sitting there watching something on the TV as well. And, so that's probably one of the things that we try and, get across to all these dads is, being able to just look after themselves, increase that self-confidence, realize that they have enough time to be able to actually do what they want to do in life. And, by making sure that they have that balanced approach to their health and fitness, and that they don't need to be training, to get that six pack, or they don't need to be training to, win that next gold medal. Like if they just do something active every day in a passion of theirs, like it doesn't have to be, that's probably one of the...
In the gym.
Yeah, exactly. And comparison in social media is probably one of the things that I find is the one thing, that is haunting and hurting a lot of fathers, because they're seeing all these, these days, all these before and after photos and all these different things. And, they're all deep diving into that coach who's used the same before and after photo for 10 different programs. He's just changed the date to match whatever his new program is that he's selling. And, it's like, well, this guy, he lost 8 kilos in 6 weeks and this is the program he did. And they're signing up to all this crap out there. And it's like, you're not going to get the results that he got. And okay, for the 5% that do follow everything and have had that training before and can be disciplined enough, you might get there, but chances are as soon as you get there, you're going to fall back in bad habits because you've just had this crash course of just craziness to get these crazy results, and then you're going to fall back into bad habits. And, our biggest thing is, eat well 80% of the time, or eat well when it's in your control. But if you do go to that party, you do get invited to that barbecue, you do have a wedding, a funeral, or whatever, and there's some cake there or there's a beer there or whatever, then just do it, because, you've still got to live. And, if they can train at least 15, 20 minutes a day in something that they love, and that might be, rock climbing for some, bike riding for the others, Zumba for you, boxing for you, whatever the case is, if you do something you love, chances are you're going to be able to sustain it for the next 10 to 20 years. And chances are that you'll want to get your children involved into it as well when they're an age where they can actually do what you're doing. And it's going to give you that new lease on life and allow you to, pass on your love of that individual, activity that you're doing, and, be able to then get involved at a new level, whether it's, coaching or, helping out in any which way. So.
100% agree, mate. And a big point that you made there was phone time. A couple of years ago, I listened to a podcast, and the guest was saying that the average person is on their phone for, I can't remember if it was 2 hours, 45 minutes or 3 hours, 45 minutes every day. And I was like, all right, I'm going to check this. So I downloaded an app, checked my phone time every day, and I was averaging 2 hours, 45, 3 hours every day. And I was like, fuck, that adds up to 2.5 months on your phone over the course of a year.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, the way that I thought about that, I was like, wow, I need to really reduce my phone time. So I started implementing these practices on a daily basis. And I think I cut my phone time down to 2.5 hours a day over the course of a couple of weeks, and then 2 hours a day over the course of a couple of weeks. And then now it's down to like 90 minutes a day. So when I'm on my phone for 90 minutes per day, makes me very intentional with what I'm doing. When I do go on my social media, I'm prioritizing what I'm doing. I'm not just mindlessly scrolling. I'm being mindful when I'm using my phone rather than mindless. And I think that's a great point, because, you do have that time, but going back to investment, what are you investing your time in? Time is something that you will never get back. Yeah. So if you're investing your time in mindless bullshit that is not actually adding to your life, then, you could be investing that time in something that's going to contribute to your life. So yeah, maybe you watching YouTube, but instead of watching some random bullshit, maybe look at your YouTube channel or my YouTube channel. I've got like training sessions. I've got like 10 training sessions on my YouTube channel, 10 sessions in under 20 minutes that people can do anywhere with minimal equipment. Last year when I went through lockdown, I put together, I think probably like 5 or 6 weeks, 3 sessions a week over the course of 4, 5, 6 weeks, where people could train from home using minimal equipment, glide boards, bands, suspension trainers, body weight, etc. So as you said, YouTube University, right? There's definitely things that you can watch out there that's going to give you the information and the knowledge to guide you on getting some form of movement in. And most people think that they need to go to the gym for an hour, right? And if the gym is 20 minutes away, then that's 20 minutes to the gym. That's an hour at the gym. That's 20 minutes back. That adds up to 2 hours, man. Like, if you have some equipment at home, very simple equipment, grab a kettlebell, grab some bands, grab a skipping rope, maybe a TRX or a suspension trainer or something like that. Like, you can do so much at home in like a 15, 20 minute block every day. Right, and it doesn't even have to be every day. It might be, all right, I'm going to commit to doing an hour of training every week. And that might be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to do a 20-minute block on those days. Do that for a couple of weeks. If you can do that for a couple of weeks, all right, now I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Now I'm going to increase that to an hour 20. Then I'm going to increase that to an hour 40. And then it might be I'm going to increase those training sessions by 10 minutes, right? Like, that's progressive overload 101, man. Like, that's how you start building habits. That's how you start creating consistency, is choosing a target that you can reach, but is also going to challenge you. And then once you can hit that target, then you move the goalposts. Is there anything you want to add to that? Or is there any specific videos that you have on your YouTube channel that you can send people to?
Yeah, so I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And, in regards to the training at home, I had a bit of a reaction to the second jab about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And since then, I haven't been back to the gym because it just, I haven't been able to get the body right. And I've only been training here at home and resistance bands, pull-up bar. I have got a heap of equipment like kettlebells, dead balls, Olympic bars and all that kind of crap, but I hardly get it out. I literally have just been using the pull-up bar, dumbbells and resistance bands. And to tell you the truth, in the last month, I've never enjoyed my training more than I am right now. And it's because I'm just mixing things up and I'm doing really basic stuff like 15, 20-minute workouts, but I think the beauty that I'm finding is I'm also getting my wife out there and she's getting into the workouts, and our kids are coming down and they're like, Dad, can you...
And your kids are watching you, man.
Exactly. And, in between sets, like I might be having a rest from doing what I'm doing, but my middle son's like, Dad, can I do some pull-ups? And you're like helping him out. And then it's like, Dad, can you show me how to do this? And like, you're not worried. Like, whenever I'm training and the family's around, it's never about a time frame. It's never about reps. It's never about anything. It's when they stop smiling or they stop enjoying it, then I stop and I'm done. I don't want to, just force them or, be down there and be doing something if they're not involved. But the beauty of doing it here as well is, halfway through the session, we might go have a shoot at the basketball, then we might play tiggy or tag or, something like that around, and then we might go back and do a bit more. And I'm just finding a new love for just, also being around them non-stop and helping my wife get back into things after giving birth 5 months ago, and shift that final bit of the baby weight, and get back into that routine. And in regards to the programs, we got a training app out there as well, which we run through the Trainerize platform, and it's just 15-minute workouts. So we went through that whole process of custom building programs and gym programs and strength programs and all this kind of different stuff out there for dads. And it was honestly like we were putting it out there, and people were like, I don't have enough time to do it. And when the pandemic hit last year, I'm like, and half the gyms were shut, and because we deal with people all around the world, not just Australia, and I just went through the app. I deleted everything out there and made everything a 15 to 20-minute workout that you can do from your living room, and all you need is a set of hexi dumbbells, and that's it. So all our workouts, we've got 200 different 15, 20-minute workouts on there, a set of dumbbells, all you need, and we just made it some absolutely ridiculously low price, just one-off payment, nothing ongoing. And that's it. And people have been like, there's people on there lost 20, 30 kilos because we give them a copy of the ebook with just basic, lifestyle, nutritional, sort of choices, and just cleaning up a few things. And, people are just getting crazy results. And we never showcase any of it because I'm against before and after pictures, as I mentioned before. And, I just think that they just get used and abused. And I don't need to showcase someone else's results to get clients, and nor do I want to, because that's their own individual achievement, and I know that what that person, their results are not going to be able to be replicated by anyone else, because their life is different, their upbringing is different, their financial position is different, their priorities, their work, everything's different. So I don't want anyone trying to be copying anyone else just to get that result. So even though they're following the same 15-minute workouts, they're doing it on a time that suits them, and in a way that suits them.
Yeah, you made a great point about the before and after pictures. So many trainers, coaches, influencers, in quotation marks, they get really fucking lean, and they have a photo shoot, and then they use all of those photos all the time for years later. And what people don't understand is that they don't look like that all the time.
No.
That's a process, man. And again, those challenges, I spoke about challenges with another one of my guests on the podcast recently. And, those challenges, 6-week challenges, anyone can be disciplined and motivated for 6 weeks and get really fucking good results. And you see the before photo, you see the after photo. But what you never see is the after photo.
Yeah.
It's taken 6 months later when they've put all the weight back on, and, they haven't learned and implemented those habits and that discipline that they use through that 6-week challenge, because, it was a crash course. It was like, let's restrict, let's really dial everything in, but they haven't actually learned those habits and been able to implement them long term. So 6 months later, they're back to where they were plus some, and then they go, oh, I know what got me in shape last time. Then they hit this 6-week challenge again.
Yes.
You never see that stuff, man. So
it's just that vicious yo-yo, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, man. Let's talk about Fit Dad Fuel. Why did you start that? I know you mentioned it before that people were asking you about supplementation, etc. Now, the reason I ask is because anyone who's been listening to this podcast for a while knows that, knows my view on supplementation. I did a 7-part mini series on nutrition. One of the first series that I did when I first launched podcast in May last year.
Yep.
But I went through the nutritional pyramid of importance, covered off on energy balance, macronutrients, micronutrients, meal timing, frequency, carb cycling, calorie cycling, different diets, etc. And then supplements were sitting on the top of that pyramid. And for me, supplementation is exactly that. It is to supplement your diet. If there's something missing from your diet and a gap needs to be plugged, then that's where I use supplementation. If for example, a lot of females, they tend to undereat protein, and they're typically dieting for long periods of time. All right, let's go through a reverse diet. We need to get your calories up. We need to bump your protein up. What's a simple way of doing that? All right, let's give you a protein shake.
Yeah.
That's a simple way of doing it. I'm in Russia at the moment with Peter Yan for his fight camp, and the weather's starting to get cold. I'm not getting outside. I'm not getting as much sunshine. So this is where I might start supplementing with vitamin D. If you're a vegan, and you're potentially missing out on, iron and, B vitamins, etc., then maybe supplementing with that is going to be a really good option for you. Creatine as well. So that's my view on supplementation. Why did you start Fit Dad Fuel, and what are your thoughts on supplementation, and how do you use supplements?
Yeah, mate. So I'm definitely under the same approach as what you said. Like, supplements are exactly that. They're supplementating, what you're not getting. The reason behind why we started it was, one, it originated from just getting asked non-stop. So that's where it sort of started from. But I didn't want to create another fitness supplement. So I don't push, even though we're called the Fit Dad Lifestyle, and Fit Dad Fuel is the actual supplement stuff, we actually don't push it out for people just for the fitness space. And that's why we actually refer to them as lifestyle supplements, I guess. So we worked with, one of the leading manufacturers in Australia, and they've got a team of 5 food scientists that are based down there. So we worked with them for about 8 months developing the product. So our energy is actually designed to hit the pain points that dads have of, like, the baby being up all night, not getting enough sleep, or, got a busy day on the tools, or, got a busy board meeting. But they can also be used on, before as like a pre-workout as well. So we wanted to hit, every day, sort of like as a sort of substitute for the coffee, for example, because a lot of people, just have their morning coffee and either train, or morning coffee and then go to work. So we're sort of giving people a bit of an option there. Plus we packed it full of, a proprietary blend of nootropics as well, just sort of give them that cognitive benefits. The hydration product, that's just your essential aminos and electrolytes. So that's just, everyday use or during the session. And then the recovery product is our sleep formula. So it's magnesium, B6 and zinc is the main ingredients of that. And that's just to help dads unwind at the end of the busy night. So tuck the kids into bed, have that. And it sort of just allows the body just to slow down and reset, and allow them to do it all again the next day. So, we don't include the supplementation in any meal plans. We don't include it in any, programming or like that, because, as you mentioned, it's not needed for everyone. If people like their coffee, well, you're not going to double dose up on the caffeine just to, get the hit of it for shits and giggles sort of thing. So, it is more developed for those pain points of, fatherhood. And I think that's why it's sort of taken off the way it has, because we're not pushing it out there, like, you need this every day, or, like, it is designed to be part of the daily staple, but a lot of people use it, to just replace some of those things that, they weren't getting prior.
Yeah, I love that, man. You're using them when you need them. And, this is the great thing about supplements. This is why I do love supplements. And, I definitely don't bash supplements. I've taken every fucking supplement under the sun, especially when I was in the army, man, when I was trying to build muscle. I was trying to get massive as a rugby player as well.
I was muscle stack tablets and jacked and this and that.
Yeah. You always like flick into the back of Muscle Fitness and you're like, all right, where's all the good shit?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, a lot of money on, supplements that was just really a fucking waste of money. But
yeah, if they didn't give you the tingle on the face and you knew it wasn't good enough and you went for the next strongest one, like, that's how I gauged a good pre-workout back in the day.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. But there definitely is some great benefits to supplementation if you're using it correctly, and one of those benefits is the convenience, right? Like, as I mentioned before, if someone's low on protein, they need to bump their calories up. Then instead of eating another meal, then they can simply take a protein shake, have some milk. This is my breakfast when I'm in Thailand, man. Is like, I don't like to eat first thing in the morning, but if I've got a busy day where I know I'm not going to get my first meal in until 2:00 in the afternoon, then I'm just going to have a massive super shake where it's like milk, Greek yogurt, protein powder, banana, berries, spirulina, some other like greens and superfood powders and things like that. Throw in a bit of peanut butter, some chia seeds, man, and like, there's 1,000 calories, bro. That gives me the energy that allows me to get through the first 6 hours of the day without needing to eat. Yeah. And it hits all the gives me the calories, gives me the energy, gives me the macronutrients, gives me the micronutrients as well, and it's easily digestible.
Yeah, mate, I'm exactly the same. I have an energy upon waking at 4 or 5 in the morning. hydration during the session. And then I have a smoothie as well, about 10 or 11 during the day, which is the same thing: chia seeds, oats, some of our protein whey, and then just like some frozen strawberries and a bit of water. And it's only 500-600 calories, but it's enough to get me through. I then have the next meal at 2:00, which is might be some tuna or crackers, just something plain and simple that gets me through dinner, and then have a big dinner. And I don't try and overcomplicate things. I keep it simple, and it works for me. And that routine and that meal might not work for anyone else, but it's sort of, once you find what works, and but I'm not stringent on that as well. Like, if I got asked tomorrow morning by the wife, hey, we're going out for brekkie, I'd have a big plate of bacon, eggs, and wouldn't care. I'm not. It doesn't have to be like that, but when it's in my control, that's how I like to do it.
Awesome, man. If people want to get in contact with you, if they want to get some of your supplementation, they want to have a look at your app, get some of those at-home training programs, etc., where can they find it?
Yeah, so the fitdadlifestyle.com is the best place to go for podcast, website, subs and all that kind of stuff. And then the Fit Dad Lifestyle and all the socials is where you'll find us. And if they do want to get some subs, use the discount code VETERAN, all in capital letters, and 10% of any of those sales that come through with that code will donate to Swiss 8 as well. So
lovely. I will write that down, mate. Let's quickly talk about your podcast. What sort of information are you pushing out there, and what's your audience? What's your target demographic?
Yeah, so we're about 140 episodes as well, so much similar to yourself. Every one of them has been a father, and it is. We sort of have a core set of about 10 questions, but much like this podcast and all the others out there, you sort of go where the conversation leads you, and with different information that gets put on. We've had Olympians on there. We've had Navy SEALs, Victoria Cross winners. We've had 10-figure business owners, everyday people out of our community and customers, and so just anything regarding tips and tricks to fatherhood in general, health and fitness advice, and even business and success sort of stuff with some of the bigger name guests that we've had on there, and how they manage to do, the stuff at the top level that where they're at currently, and how they manage that with kids. So, if you're a new dad, or you're sort of stuck in your way, or in a bit of a rut, and just want, to get a fresh insight, or a bit of knowledge of some of these people that you may look up to, or some of these people that you may follow on social media, then it's probably a different conversation to what you've probably heard them say in the past, because it is very focused around being a father.
Love that, mate. I'll have all of those links in the show notes. Just to start wrapping up, mate, one of the final questions that I ask most of my guests is, the name of this podcast is Live, Train, Perform. That stands for live life to the fullest, train to your potential, and perform at your best. What does that mantra mean to you?
Mate, I think as a father, and very on brand with what we do, is living life to fullest is just being able to give as much time to your family, and create memories rather than sort of buying, not forgiveness, but buying, special gifts and stuff for your kids because you're never around, and realizing that, if you're not looking after yourself, both, physically and mentally, and, looking after, that of your family by setting, that right example, and being confident in the way that you, go about things, then you're ultimately going to continuously fall back into bad habits and not be able to be that example and role model for your kids. So I think with the mantra that you just set, just really concentrate on making sure that you're giving yourself the best start to every day, because naturally that's going to flow through for the rest of your family and improve every other aspect of life.
Love it, mate. Really appreciate your time, bro. As I said, I'll have all of your links in the show notes. Leroy, thank you for coming on, mate.
Mate, no dramas, and once it's live, let us know and we'll share it across all the socials.
Shall do. Cheers, bro.
Cheers, mate.
This episode was brought to you by Swiss 8, which is a proactive mental health program designed by veterans, initially for veterans, that has been pushed out to the wider community, that allows you to structure in and schedule their 8 pillars of health and wellness, including nutrition, sleep, time management, discipline, fitness, personal growth, mindfulness, and minimalism. This episode was also brought to you by Be Spunky, which is a male hormone optimization supplement that I've been taking for about a year and a half and I absolutely rate. It is a TGA listed nutraceutical, meaning that it's made from all organic produce to help you manage and optimize your stress levels, which in turn increases your ability to improve testosterone production levels naturally. Use the code COBES10 at checkout for your 10% discount. All of those links will be in the show notes. If you got some benefit from this episode, please make sure you pass it off to your friends and family. I'd appreciate any shares on social media platforms. If you tag me or if you share it to your stories, make sure you tag me so I can share that as well. Any 5-star ratings and reviews are much appreciated. Much love, guys. Peace.